Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode, I think it's 79. Anyway, it'll
It
be a
is
good
59.
guess. Oh God, she's chirping in already. All right, love, give me a chance. Let me get into the groove. Yes, as you can tell, me and that mental Aussie one are back. Rachel Guy, hello.
I'm Welsh, Benny.
Well, you live in Australia, so one
I
would
do.
class
I
you.
do live in Australia. But you can take a girl out of Wales, but you can never take Wales out of a girl. So I'm still very British, and I have to say, it's interesting looking through these questions that you've sent me. It's very funny seeing the way that British people write emails and write questions compared to the way that Australians do, and I was just sort of having a bit of a giggle to myself going through these, thinking, "Oh, this is so British," and I really miss it. And I've been a bit homesick this week. Actually, I did post on social media that I did miss home. I've been missing the UK. I miss Marks and Spencers for socks and underwear, and of course Percy Pigs. And I miss my gran making me cups of tea that I can dip bickies into. Perhaps I shouldn't talk about this stuff on the health podcast, but sometimes you've got to have some creature comforts, so home comforts.
Yeah, God, I can't say I miss any of that, but that's not my thing. But I
Yeah,
would,
well, it was.
I
It was
would,
never my thing until I left the UK, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden you realize like the stuff that is just totally like every day. You really miss it. I miss. It's weird. It's honestly, it's really strange the stuff that you miss.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to. What did I? When I went to Australia, I can't remember what I missed. I think I missed making my own coffee in the morning.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you just miss your environment. Well, I don't know. It's different because I was away on holiday, so you kind of miss that environment where your supplements are there and your food are there and your bed's there, and it's just like that kind of caveman thing of like, oh, where's this? It's gone. Oh no. Um, so I kind of missed
But
that.
I gave you good banana bread, so
You
we
did.
made up for it.
Mate, the Australians know how to make banana bread. Christ.
It's pretty good, isn't it? It's
Mm,
pretty good.
mm. But all is
Yeah.
good in your world otherwise.
Yeah, all's been very busy here. I've been busy, obviously, with my membership site and also training lots of clients. We are coming to the final week of Wimp Warrior, which is the MMA TV series that I'm involved in. We've had some amazing stories come through there. Some guys have dropped masses of weight.
How
And,
much?
sorry?
How much weight?
We've got one guy. He has now dropped 23 kilos. Another guy's dropped 17 in the past the past 8 weeks. So we're looking at some big drops. And I've not been easy on these guys. They've taken a bit of a hammering, but it's all been they've been so driven and they've just grafted really hard. Um, just stuck to the program, and it just goes to show, when you're so dedicated and you're so focused, um, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. I mean, I have to say these guys were big boys to start with. One of them, he started at 146 kilos at 6'4", ex-professional rugby player. So he's already a big boy, but to get 22, 24 kilos off him in 8 weeks, it's a pretty heavy drop.
That's a whole
So
lot of man. 146 kilos is not far in the grand scheme of things of twice my weight. I'm 82
yeah,
kilos. That's a whole lot of person. Um,
he's a big boy.
yeah, no, this is interesting because we talked about this while you were in Australia. The show that you're doing, it's a reality TV show that is taking the normal person and turning them into a fighter, correct?
That's correct. So the show is called Wimp Warrior, and it is the brainchild of actually my coach Richie Cranny, who's a fellow Brit. And what we've done is take 50 guys and girls, put them through a 6 month training camp, and at the end of it, we put on a big event and they fight in a cage. So for the first 12 weeks, obviously there's a lot of strength conditioning involved. As head strength coach, my role is to make sure that these guys are. I try and like my job is to make them as bulletproof as possible in a very short period of time. And it's not easy because I have some girls and some guys in there who've never trained before. They've never lifted weights before. So to take somebody from that position, in addition to a couple of people who are already quite fit, and then condition them to a point where they are fit enough and strong enough to then go into an 8-week fight camp, it's no easy feat. And I'm lucky. I've got a great team behind me. I've got 2 guys who are very experienced who work with me. But it's trial and error. Series 1, we played around with a lot of things. But really, like Series 2, wow, we've had some, like I said, we've had some pretty amazing results. We focus a lot on mobility, overall strength. We don't have access to a gym with these guys because it is such a big group. So we do train them outdoors. I tend to split the group into 2. So we have, obviously there's 3 of us coaches, and I supervise the whole training session. And we have, we use weights as kettlebells as weights. We have some barbells there. We do a lot of farmers carry, ropes, obviously tires, sleds, prowlers, you name it. We've got the toys. So, it's just about sort of working different systems, making sure that their nutrition is on track. And that's one thing that I really focus on in that show is nutrition, because unless the guys are feeding themselves, good quality foods that are nourishing to the body, their bodies aren't going to rebuild and heal themselves with the volume of training that we expect from them. So, like I said, we're 2 weeks before the end of the 12-week camp now. The guys are working really hard. They're looking amazing. They're looking fit and strong and healthy. So this year, I'm really chuffed with them. They couldn't really be in a better place. So
nice. Wow. It just goes to show you that you're doing all this without a gym. You're just giving them diet plans, giving them the advice, and getting outdoors and stuff. And people don't realise how good a workout you can have outdoors. Like, I've had some of my best training sessions outdoors. Out even said outside the back of gyms in kind of car parks and stuff like that, because playing, and I think this is why CrossFit and various other training methods are so popular. And it does annoy me, and I get why S&C coaches and various coaches have got beef with CrossFit and some other exercise disciplines, but there's huge value in getting outside and throwing stuff around and swinging kettlebells and dragging stuff. And yeah, granted, there's some parts of CrossFit that are pretty shoddy, and a lot of the time it does come down to the coach. It's all about the coach that's giving the advice. I love that kind of training, and for burning fat, holy shit balls.
Yeah. So I see the guys twice a week, and the rest of the week they do. They've started to learn obviously grappling skills. They've started to do some pad work, and they've just started to do the real basic drills of mixed martial arts. So no, it's their conditioning mainly comes from my 2 sessions, but they're doing really well.
Nice, cool. Well, I suppose
I've got some questions for you, Benny.
Yeah, you have. But before we do this, hopefully, because we're going to record 2 podcasts now because we're super efficient machines.
Right.
Today, we're recording this on a Tuesday. This will be long gone before this podcast even goes up. This is how amazing it's going to be. We launch our academy program today, the April intake. Last year it sold out in 2 hours. So when we record podcast number 83, we're hoping that we can beat the 2-hour mark and sell the program out. We've got about 500 people on the waiting list. I cannot wait to do it. The academy is an amazing program. Anyway, I'll leave that there. It's just an exciting thing that's happening in my day today. Apart from that, it's all relatively boring. A life in the day of Ben Coomber is relatively mundane. It revolves itself around coffee, dog walking, chilling, doing some business, breaking some bones. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the life in Rachel Guy is a little bit different. I don't have a dog to walk, but I do have a pet rat called Rosie, and she's very cute.
Don't walk that down the streets of Sydney. You're going to get some weird looks.
No, I know, but my days are pretty much the same. I wake up, I train, I drink coffee, I train some clients, I do some work, I hit some goals, and I talk to some cool people. So that's pretty much my days.
Well, you're talking to the coolest person right now. And
Absolutely.
let's do some questions and help some people out.
Let's do it. Okay, so this question is from a chap called Bazza. And this is the one I laughed at because it was so British. So I'm going to read it in a very British accent.
Yeah, Baz is a really British nickname as well. All right, Bazza.
Bazza. Yeah. Hi, Ben. First of all, blooming marvellous podcast. I've learned so much over the past year or so. So on to my question, and it is possibly a slightly nasty one. So here's a bit of a background. I'm 38 years old, 6-foot male, and I've struggled with my weight most of my adult life. At the start of 2014, I started a new healthy eating protocol, cutting my calories right down, eating one ingredient foods, and slowly building up my calories again. In the past, in 4 weeks, I went from 14 stone 10 to 15 stone 2. So I lost about 22 pounds, which I was well chuffed about. A lot of this was due to stuff that I picked up and learned from you guys. So thank you. Anyway, enough rambling and on to the last bit. My bowel movements have slightly have decreased rapidly from at least once a day to probably 3 to 4 times a week. Is this due to me eating less shit, no pun intended, or could it be something else? My typical day's food now is either eggs, spinach, or porridge with protein for breakfast, a chicken or a tuna salad for lunch, chicken tuna with salad, avocado for dinner, and some form of protein with tons of green veg and a small amount of sweet potato, brown rice, or new potatoes for tea. That's a very British thing to say as well, tea instead of dinner. I forget these things. So my snacks are generally Greek yogurt with blueberries, chicken pieces, cottage cheese, and celery, etc. Any help, advice, or comfort that if this is all normal would be greatly appreciated. Your faithful listener, Bazza.
I'd just like to highlight the fact that you failed in reading that in a British accent. I think you read like the first 3 words in British and then slipped straight back into Aussie Welsh hybrid mashup.
Sorry, Ben. Benjamin. I shall revert back to being very British.
When Annie used to be on the show, and she used to try a British accent, it used to be hilarious because you go so British. It's funny. It's like if I did an Australian accent, I'd go so Australian. It would be funny, and you'd go, "That's not an Australian accent. You sound like an idiot," because you go to that extreme. So we just need a bit more extreme. Anyway, this might sound like a really simple question from Bazza, but it's really, really, really common.
Yeah.
What happens in any kind of diet change is obviously the environment within the body as a result of the nutrition that you change can change quite dramatically. So what's happening? Let's say Bazza before this point in time was, I don't know, eating a really standard diet, processed foods, a lot of grain-based carbohydrates, not a lot of natural stuff. There's obviously going to be a certain ecology in the gut. There's going to be a certain amount of good and bad bacteria, and that's going to have some form of regularity. But as soon as we go and change the diet, all that regularity changes and that ecology starts to shift. But the thing is that change in ecology can shift over quite a long period of time. So you change your diet, you shift to a more natural one ingredient foods diet, and all the bacteria coming in changes, all the enzymes changes, a lot of the proteins can change, a lot of the fibers can change, a lot of the prebiotic fibers can change, a lot of the probiotic nutrients that are coming in from various sources like whole dairy and vegetables will change as well. So when you change this ecology, which is happening really from the stomach, because the stomach pH will change because you're changing the pH of the foods that you eat, and then the small and the large intestine will change, and thus all the way out to the anus. So we're getting this shift in bacterial change, and because of that, you'll then change how the body will take water out of the bowel, how often it will go. The fiber is being changed. You might be absorbing more of your food. So you might actually be on a very low calorie diet. You might not be eating as much. but more of the food is being absorbed because less of it is crap essentially. But what I'm getting at is because this environment changes, you can see a shift, and this is what Bazza is experiencing. He's gone from a regular one a day to a non-regular 3 or 4 times a week. And the only answer I've ever had with this situation is give it time. Um, you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing everything right. You've shifted to a more natural diet. There's more whole foods in there. There's more nutrients in there. We can't see this as a negative. The only negative that you might see is that you're still eating a food that might be inflammatory to the bowel. So there might be some dairy, some gluten, some eggs, some soy. Who knows what it might be? And that's still causing a little bit of irregularity. It's still causing a bit of a formation of bad bacteria or any kind of reaction. So you might look into that. You might note symptomology. You might go, oh, actually, when I eat that, I kind of feel like this, and that doesn't feel right. That's going to give you an indication. But essentially, I mean, I don't know at what point in time Baz has written this email. He could have been doing this for only like 3 or 4 weeks, and I would just say give it more time. And I bet my bottom dollar it just starts to normalize and it starts to become regular again once that bacteria becomes a bit more settled and the ecology in the gut kind of normalizes.
I think this question is so important because it is just so common. I think that, and I think everything. I agree with everything that you said. One thing that I would also add there is make sure that your water intake is high. So a minimum, for a 6 foot minimum 3 liters of water a day, an absolute minimum. And if you're training as well, you should be up to 4, 5, 6 liters of water a day, and this does help push stuff out. But yeah, very, very common, and particularly common in women.
Because what Bazza might have done, and this is what can happen with some people improving their diet, is they'll go, oh, I'll cut out a lot of the coffee and the tea that I drink. But actually, the coffee and the tea was providing a lot of the daily fluid intake, and a lot of people may or may not replace that with water. You obviously need to replace that. The bowel needs a lot of water to function properly. Constipation can simply be linked to dehydration a lot of the time. So yeah, definitely that's got to be a big one. And I think in the health and fitness world, and especially in my world, I don't talk about hydration an awful lot purely because you just think it's a given. We've talked about it in the fitness world for such a long period of time. Like, the government hammers on about it, 8 glasses a day. So maybe we kind of overlook people's intake. For example, I'm working with a young athlete at the moment, and this guy's a potential, like, he's going to set the stage on fire. Like, people are going to go, wow, this guy's incredible. And, he's functioning like 700 mils of water a day. It's amazing. And I just think, well, what could you be doing? Be better hydrated and have better nutrition. Perhaps we do take it for granted. I don't know.
It's actually something that I touched on this week on one of my pages. Is just randomly, I just thought that it's just exactly the same as you. I just take it as a given, and it's just something that I always have a bottle of water in my bag, on my desk, in my training bag, wherever I am. I always have one with me. And I think we just sometimes presume that everybody does, but it's always a good reminder, I think, sometimes to always just go back to the basics as well. So, no, it's good. It's good. Good question.
Sweet.
Okay, next one. This question's from Rich, and it's very different. So, hi Ben, I just came across your podcast and smashed through 40 episodes in a week. Woo! That is an epic effort. I'm doing the 3 Peaks 24-hour challenge in a couple of months. So that's walking up Ben Nevis. I can't pronounce this one properly. I might pronounce this incorrectly. I apologise in advance. Scaffold Pike, and Snowdon in a 24-hour period. I'm interested in any recommendations you can give me for food on the day, both snacks for when I'm on a mountain and also recovery meals between the mountains. Keep up the work, and thank you, Rich.
Yeah, this question excited me a little bit just because it was really different. I've actually answered this question for about 3 or 4 clients previously in emails, because clients have kind of done it. And something like the 3 Peaks Challenge is just a great physical challenge. It's kind of like, I suppose it's kind of like the marathon. You get really fit and you're like, well, I'm gonna signify my new fitness by doing the marathon, and it's no mean feat. Um, One thing I think the biggest thing that you got to bear in mind with something like the Three Peaks is just, um, you know, do not worry about body composition, thinking about health, all that kind of stuff. You literally just want, for me, to think about an energy value. You need to be working on putting a huge amount of energy, and it would probably be intelligent for you to. And I haven't actually looked at this before, and it would be an intelligent approach to go online and probably calculate your expected energy burn throughout that session. So if like if the event organizers, for example, say, do you know what, we reckon it's going to take you about 16 hours. That's 16 hours of walking. You can roughly calculate the caloric need for that. So over a 24-hour period, you could say, right, my caloric need normally is 3,000. They're telling me I'm walking for 16 hours. For example, I've calculated that as 7,000 calories. Right. On the Three Peaks Challenge, I need to eat 10,000 calories, for example, to keep up my energy, my expenditure, my bodily functions. So then you just break that down and look at your meals. Remember, you're walking, so walking is going to be a low intensity based exercise. You're going to have a high amount of fat turnover. So before you go to the event, I mean, you might want to become more efficient at burning fat as a fuel. So I would probably gravitate towards a fat dominant diet for the 10 days to 2 weeks leading up to the walk, because you're going to start to increase the enzyme activity and the beta oxidation pathway to utilize fat as a fuel. Because, on the flip side of that, you're going to have to think about food volume. Like, you don't want big meals sitting in your gut while you're trying to traverse a mountain. That's just ridiculous. You want to keep the foods quite small, very energy dense. You're still going to have a good, consistent amount of protein there, because you're going to be breaking down and using muscles all the time. So fat is a perfect energy source. And also, don't get me wrong, like dense forms of carbohydrates as well, like oats and stuff. So I would definitely, if you can, I use these now and again. There's a new type of Trek bar on the market. They've started selling that in UK supermarkets, and I've started using them now and again when I'm in a pinch and traveling. I mean, there's various bars that I use now and again. That's just the convenience of life. And these I think they're gluten free, so if gluten's an issue with you, but they're like carob top, they've got protein content, they've got oats in them and stuff. But think about taking like macadamias. Macadamia is seriously calorie dense. It's like 750 calories per 100 grams. I could quickly eat 700 calories of macadamias, I tell you that much. Pre-packing like biltong with macadamias, maybe dried fruit. Dried fruit, very energy dense. Fructose, lower on the glycemic load, very energy dense. It's going to be very high in antioxidant values, which is going to be very important because you've got a lot of stress going around your body at this time. I would probably recommend potentially some transdermal magnesium. You're going to be hitting your magnesium stores big time on the walk. What else? This is obviously going to be hard. You're going to be probably taking, I can imagine, a lot of dried food. You're not going to all sit down the campfire and have a bit of a gun ho and cook up some deer that you've just caught, because time is of the essence. So you've got to pack up this stuff. So probably biltong, dried nuts, dried fruit. Uh, what else? Rachel.
I'd say all of those things really. I mean, I guess the trick is that you don't want too much food in your stomach at one time, because it's like walking. You know what it's like when you've had a good feed and you've got a tummy full of food. There's a lot of blood around your tummy, and you don't want a lot of blood around your stomach. And trying to digest food when you're continually on the move. So, small meals, continual snacking. I think that's key. And again, like as Ben said, just very energy dense foods.
I think nuts would be really important. Remember, nuts are a very well balanced food. They contain protein, carbs, fats, very rich, contain lots of decent antioxidants like vitamin E, especially in things like walnuts. They're just so easy to eat. They're not high in volume. They're going to fill you up nicely. So nuts, Trek bars, dried fruit, biltong. That would be my go-to, and just calculate how much you need and go, right, there's 10,000 calories of nuts, bars, biltong, dried fruit, and just say, right, I'm going to eat that over the next 24 hours. Simple.
Yep.
Nice
I've
one.
got nothing to that. You've answered it very well. Okay, the next one is from Paul. So Paul says, "Hi Ben, I'm a big fan of your podcasts and I listen to them quite a bit whilst driving. I'm currently going through the past podcasts to pick up things that I may have missed. So if you've already answered my question previously, please disregard this. You obviously haven't answered it before because you've picked it out to read. Anyway, I'm currently in a process of transforming my body. I was working towards just getting healthier and making good decisions until I saw the transformation of Dominique Mitchell on bodybuilding.com. I'm not sure if you've seen a link, but it is available on bodybuilding.com. I've never seen such a dramatic change in somebody with a similar body type to what mine used to be. I've been doing 5x5 training with bench, back row, squat, deadlift, and clean and press for a couple of months, and I've been seeing some really good results. I've also been making progress and having a little bit more of a natural diet of one ingredient foods. My question that I had for you was that would be suggestions that you have in tightening skin. I've been in contact with Dom Mitchell, and he has suggested honing the diet, high intensity interval training cardio, heavy ab resistance lifting. He also suggested incorporating coconut oil into my protein shakes and into other drinks because of its skincare benefits. I have also been putting coconut oil into my coffee for a while. If you have any suggestions, they would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, and keep fighting the good fight, Paul.
We've kind of answered this question in a way in the past, but in a different way. We were talking about kind of, when you lose all the weight, what you can do for the skin and stuff. So what probably would have been helpful is understanding what Paul kind of looks like now, because there's some people that think they've got kind of a bit of loose skin when really they just need to keep losing the fat. So we need to make sure that Paul is still on his fat loss journey and potentially losing the fat that may look like skin, but it's kind of granted. Like I'm the same. I've got quite the skin around my abdominal region is looser than anywhere else in my body. It's quite stretchy. If I pull it, I can get like a good 2-3 inches of stretch on it, and it's purely a reminder of my fat days. And it's something that I live with and whatever. But I keep lean, so a lot of the time it's not really an issue. But the biggest thing we need to look at here is where Paul is in his journey, and I think his journey needs to shift slightly because, don't get me wrong, the training program that he's doing has been great. It's stimulated some great fat loss, but I think it needs to move a lot more to a hypertrophy-based model now. So, let's say that you're looking skinnier, you've put on a little bit of muscle, your body composition's improved. Where there was fat, we need to fill it now with a bit more of muscle. And I would, if you were my personal client, for example, I would have you move on to much more of a bodybuilding based program now. So I'd have you on some form of body part split or an upper lower rest, upper lower base training program, maybe four times a week weights, and then maybe 2 30-minute kind of metabolic sessions, getting some kettlebells, ropes in there, the kind of stuff that me and Rachel were talking about earlier on in the show, because I want to lay down some positive muscle tissue. The best way that I improved my body composition or my look when I was younger was to build muscle. But it wasn't a quick process. So I lost all my weight. I looked quite skinny, and I looked at myself and I was like, oh, I need to lose more fat. Like, it's fat that's not giving me the cover model look almost. It wasn't that. It was that I just lacked the muscle for that kind of shape. To have good shoulders, you've got to have good shoulders. They've got to be big. To have defined abs, you've got to have thick abdominal muscles. They're not just gonna. You're not gonna get a beautiful 6-pack by not putting in some ab training. If you want big legs, you've got to build big muscles. So I went on a bit of a muscle building journey, and I'm probably still on it. I think guys for the most part are always trying to dip in and refine their physique for the kind of look they're going for, and I'm no different to any other man. So I would definitely make sure your diet is geared towards positively building muscle. But that's what I would do. I would start to just shift your programming, increase your volume slowly. Like, don't by all means go straight in the gym and hit the volume hard straight away because you've not been used to it. So go in and start doing 3 different exercises, 3 sets of 10 kind of thing, and then build that up to 5 different exercises, 3 or 4 sets of 10, and just ramp up the volume. Really start bringing in like 10, 12, 15, 18 rep sets. Start grafting, start putting in drop sets once you get used to it. Push the muscles, build some muscle, and basically fill the skin.
Good analogy. I like that, filling the skin. And this is very common with women as well, and particularly those who've embarked on a fat loss journey, and those who, I would say probably more than about 5 kilos to lose. Those women, they think that they need to keep losing weight on the scales, or they think they need to keep losing fat. The truth is that they probably do need to lose a little bit more fat, but to look better, and where they think they want to be, they think they need to lose fat to get there. But the truth is that they need to actually build some muscle and build a frame and build some curves in terms of women, and guys just need to put on some muscle. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very, very common. Yeah, very common.
I actually today is Tuesday, the 1st of April. I've actually
first day of the month, no returns.
Yeah. And this podcast will go live on the 3rd of April. So if you haven't seen it already, I've actually written a blog that will go live today on this very topic. And this blog was originally written for a magazine that I've kind of made longer and fleshed out. And it's an article that talks about why everyone should lift weights and the reasons behind it, and the dogma behind it. Like, women think they'll get bulky, so what actually happens, why they can't get big quickly, why the elderly should lift weight, why the young should lift weight, why people should lift weights if they're concerned about body composition. Because there's all these things like if you want we've talked about this previously on the podcast, if you want a nice round full set of glutes, you've got to train them. You've got to build the muscle there. You can't just lose fat and expect yourself to have a beautiful arse. It doesn't happen. You've got to shape that arse. It's just the same as if I was overweight and I lose fat. I can't expect myself to have a beautiful set of pecs afterwards. I've got to go in and I've got to hustle in the gym and I've got to train myself to get those. So, the physique that you want is shapeable and it's doable, but it will take time and it will take effort. And that's why, for me, weight training is so important for so many different people and so many goals. They just potentially don't realise it yet. So go to Facebook, go to Twitter, go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk and go onto the blog and read that article.
Well, Benny, I'm going to share that shit because I'm a big fan of weight training. I'm a big fan of glutes, and I think that everybody should also be lifting weights. So I'm big fan. And my grand, God love her, she's up there somewhere. Up until she was about 70, she was still going to the gym. She was lifting weights at her little local gym, and she was a good strong ox, as she called herself, until the day she passed away. So everyone should be lifting weights.
Nice. Right, we're going to wrap up the show. It's been just over an hour. It's been emotional.
As always, it's been very emotional. I haven't got too excited in this show. I've managed to maintain my emotions quite well.
Oh, just don't know, Rachel. Don't be in a position right. where you're having to hold yourself back. That's a horrible thing.
Come on, Benny. I get very passionate at times.
Let it rip. Right. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you think, do you know what? I'd like Ben and Rachel to answer a question of mine that I have on Health from Fitness. Well, you're in luck. If you email bencoomber@gmail.com with the subject line podcast, your question will be looked at. And if it's interesting, thought-provoking, and we think it will help, we'll answer it. So email, get in touch. It will get thrown into the podcast mix. I cannot guarantee when it will get asked. We have, a backlog, and I go, oh, that would be really nice to talk about today. We'll cover that topic. So it might be a case that you answer your question and we answer it really quickly, just because it's really cool and interesting. So there's a little tip. If you're writing into the podcast, make it cool, make it interesting. Don't be boring. We don't want this podcast to be boring. We want it to be entertaining. Everyone needs entertainment in their life as well as knowledge. And that's why I'm just so funny. Because I'm entertaining you. I'm funny to myself anyway. Aside from that, if you've enjoyed the show, please share it on iTunes. Don't share it on iTunes. You can't do that. That's false. Please share it on Facebook. Please share it on Twitter, Instagram, whatever your chosen medium of sharing is. I would be greatly appreciated. And so would Rachel, because she's very pretty, far prettier than I. And in fact, the video will be on iTunes. So if you kind of think, do you know what, that audio is amazing. I wonder what they look like. It's on YouTube. You can see that.
Here we are in all of our colours.
Yeah. And apart from that, that's it from me. The Lane Norton tour is fast approaching. Tickets are selling amazingly. If you haven't got tickets yet for that, go to lanenortonuktour.co.uk. All the information and ticket details are there. Rachel, you got your hand up.
I have my hand up. Sarah, I need to say something. Lane was over in Sydney last week, and it was so awesome hanging out with him. He is a really cool guy. Guys, if you haven't seen him talk, he is so passionate about what he does. He's absolutely crazy. He's a really good friend of mine, and I can't recommend his seminars and highly enough. And obviously, Benny, I'm a big fan of yours as well. So it's really cool that all of my close fitness friends are now working together. But Lane is very, very smart. He's very passionate about what he does, and I can't recommend his seminars highly enough.
I completely forgot Lane was in Australia, because obviously we've been talking via email and he keeps mentioning it, but I didn't twig. Cool. So did you go to some of his seminars?
I didn't this time, no, because I've had meetings, and obviously with the release of my membership site and everything, I've been completely all consumed. But we did hang out. We had a couple of training sessions, and we had some good coffee times, good catch up times. So yeah, he was squatting some ridiculous loads when we were training.
Nice.
Obviously, because I've got a torn hamstring, I can't squat at the moment. So I was just watching whilst I was doing a bit of a party pump, back and shoulders. There's a bodybuilder in me.
Nice. Well, Lane Norton gets the Rachel Guy seal of Foxy approval.
He does. I'm a big fan.
Nice. Okay, that's it. We're wrapping up. That's ciao from Rachel. That's ciao from me. Laters. Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode 78. Damn! I'm excited about this show. It is another transatlantic show. I'm a massive fan of this guy's work.